Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Have Gun Will Travel is an American Western series that was produced and originally broadcast by CBS on both television and radio from 1957 through 1963. The television version starred Richard Boone and was rated number 3 or number 4 in the Nielsen ratings every year of its first 4 seasons. It also is one of the few shows in television history to spawn a successful radio version of itself. This show would be unlike anything that was on TV at that time. It was a very sophisticated and intellectual Western. It centered on a man known only as Paladin that was played by Richard Boone. When you look at him on the surface, he appears to be little more than a playboy with a taste of some finer things in life. He stayed at the luxurious Hotel Carlton in San Francisco, and he only wore the latest fashions and had a keen appreciation for a really good cigar, a fantastic meal, fine brandy, and beautiful ladies. He was a master at both cards and chess, as well as being in love with the arts, music, poetry, and literature. But he really wasn't a man of leisure. He was a very high-priced gun for hire that advertised his services with a card that read, "Have Gun Will Travel, Wire Paladin, San Francisco." The card also bore a logo of a white chess knight. He had a true code of honor in his job. He wasn't merely an assassin. If he learned that an employer's motives were less than noble, he would see to it that his former employer was brought to justice. He would even at times forego getting paid for his services to see that justice was served. Once he was on a case, he looked very different from the playboy that he appeared to be at the Hotel Carlton. Dressed entirely in black and carrying a long-barreled Colt 44, his opponents were usually stunned to see him, as they felt like they were being visited by the angel of death. Overall, he remained a complete mystery, with very little of his history revealed at all. He graduated from West Point and was born into wealth, and during the Civil War, we know that he served with the Union Cavalry. We never find out his real name. Throughout the entire run of the show, there were only 2 other recurring characters. For most of the show's run, Cam Tong played the Hotel Carlton bellhop Hey Boy. But during the 4th season, Cam Tong was working on the TV show Mr. Garland, so his place was taken by Lisa Liu. Her character was Hey Girl, and she was explained to be Hey Boy's sister. Cam Tong returned to the show as Hey Boy the following season because Mr. Garland was canceled. The show was developed by Sam Rolfe, who later went on to develop The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It was originally conceived that Paladin be a private eye in modern-day New York City. This really shouldn't be a surprise at all, because private detective is probably the best way to describe his chosen profession. Now, I found one thing in researching this show that I thought was kind of odd, but I'm really not sure what to believe. You see, according to Maureen O'Hara, when she wrote her autobiography, which was called "'Tis Herself," she states that Richard Boone and Peter Lawford, who were on the set with her filming the movie Kangaroo from 1952, and she states that both of them were arrested at a gay brothel that was full of beautiful boys. That was her words. And that 20th Century Fox allegedly managed to prevent this from being reported by the press. Now, granted, Hollywood was pretty good at covering up anything that went wrong during a production, so I wouldn't be surprised at all. But in the same instance, it does surprise me by the names involved in this. The one and only source for this allegation is O'Hara's book. In the early episodes of the series, Paladin's trail clothes were a rich midnight blue. This was done for some reason to complement his blue eyes, but it all registered as black on the black and white film of the day. There was a shirt redesign from a buttoned front to a V-neck, and the colors of both changed to black around that time. Whenever his clothes were referred to in dialogue, he was always called the Man in Black, whether he was dressed in blue or black. It appeared that way on TV. Regarding the name Paladin, that comes from an early European term referring to a person being knightly, a heroic champion who fights for a noble cause, someone who is trusted and relied upon by his king. This somewhat explains the silhouette of the knight chess piece on his holster and business card, which demonstrates his self-image as a knight seeking to right wrongs. The level of intelligence in this series set it apart from many other westerns of that time, and it explored various ethical and philosophical questions, portraying a world in which individuals and situations could not always be viewed in terms of black and white. There were always plenty of shades of gray in between. The show dealt with a lot of subjects that were pretty relevant during the late 50s and early 60s. This show was far more than a simple shoot-'em-up. The series' creation was the subject of a lot of controversy. You see, there was a rodeo performer and construction worker named Victor DaCosta, and he filed a lawsuit against CBS asserting that he had created the character of Paladin in the 40s and that he adopted the name of Paladin for his rodeo act after an Italian man referred to him that way after a horse show. He even claimed that he started using the phrase "have gun will travel" after an individual yelled it at him at a rodeo. He even dressed in black and handed out cards with that phrase printed on them. DaCosta ended up winning his case in federal court in 1974. The decision kept getting overturned by appeals courts, and finally he was awarded a settlement of $3.5 million in 1991. That same year, he died at the age of 83 before he could receive the settlement. That settlement was overturned in 1992. Now, whether the series was really inspired by DaCosta, as he alleged, may never be known for certain. Take a look back at this exceptional Western. This is a notch above everything else. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.